Okay, there we go. Okay, so uh, okay, so betting the ace three seems reasonable. What about any of the other three hands? What like of the other three hands, which one favors checking, do you think? Anyone? Yeah, yeah. So why would nines check raise? Yeah, yeah. So we block the check back range and we unblock their bets. Um, so yeah, we would check that one. Um, and then uh, yeah, we have these other three hands. So um, yeah. So what about? Yeah, I guess I'll just open the floor back up to any other ideas. Yep, yep. That is correct. Yeah. So you do check the ace sometimes. Um, but so now we're left with these two hands. So the thing is like with ace king and king queen, um, like king queen needs more protection. So we like with king queen specifically, we mix it into the bigger size. Since it's vulnerable to an overcard. Um, and then we just pure bet ace three. Yeah. We can take a look at this sim real quick. Yeah, I'm changing the window. Okay, here's a sim. So like half pot call, deuce of hearts. Then here's out of position. Um, King queen's mostly going to bet for the pot size, and then ace king is going to get mixed into the smaller size along with some checkbacks, or some checks. I mean. Um, so yeah, and then yeah, 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 and then ace three is just a pure bet. So yeah, go back to I'll just share my entire screen. Okay, so this is more of a conceptual question. So it goes half pot call on the flop, and then now we're tasked with find the card in which out of position bets the most frequently. Um, so what do you guys think? Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry, I haven't been anything. So, like, if it's a very good board for out of position on the flop on a break, it will remain that way. So that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So um, let's start with the easiest one. So I think like as the out of position player, we're gonna have the most ace X when three betting from the small blind. So I think that one was pretty obvious to go at the top. Especially when we bet on the flop, we're gonna fold out a lot of ace X. Um, so yeah, on the turn that it like when we have the like out of position is still high card heavy on the turn just because we're betting so much out of position. Um, so yeah. Um, and now we're okay. So we have these three cards left. Um,
I have a question before we do these other ones.
sure.
If we had bet like a quarter on the flop,
Hmm.
would is the ace still as good for the three better? Because then
No,
it would
no,
probably float
because
more
like the
ace high.
frequency, the frequency for out of position. Well, that's a good question. I want to say that out of position, um, would still be betting a lot, like nearly their entire range, probably. It would just be for the smaller size if they quarter pot the flop. We can, well, we'll take a look at the end, but yeah, that's a good question. Um, I still
Cool.
think it'd be close to a range bet. It would just be like for a smaller size. Um, to like keep getting, because like if you quarter pot the flop with like um, ace nine or ace five, like on the ace, uh, or let's see.
Yeah, I would just imagine like in position is going to float more hands like ace jack offsuit or
Right. Yeah. Well, there's going to be
whatever.
there's going to be more floats when you size down. So like on the turn, I'm gonna say I'm not
Well, on this
sure.
board, yeah, on this board it's a little weird because it's like I don't know. I don't know if like versus a quarter, does he call like ace ten of hearts? Maybe I'm not sure.
No,
And then verse half, that probably folds.
no, they
But,
wouldn't go that thin on the flop. I don't think. We can take a look. I mean, see versus quarter on the flop. Yeah, ace ten without the backdoors folding.
okay.
Yeah. Uh,
And even
oh,
ace jack offsuit folds and stuff. So
yeah, yeah. It's like you want the backdoor. It's sort of the idea. Then ace queen has enough showdown value, but so yeah. What about these other three?
I think the eight's really bad because in position we'll have 6 7 and 9 8.
Yep.
So we should bet that the least frequent.
Yep.
Yeah, then the two is the second best because it's out of the way of.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It
It's a
unblock.
brick. It's a brick.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the advantage on the flop is still going to remain.
exactly.
So yeah. And then the 10, and then so the 10, um, like when more straight draws get there, um, like when more straights get there, the betting frequency is going to go down for out of position. Uh, just because in position we'll bet more often. So out of position just doesn't have as much incentive to bet. Sort of the idea. And after a half pot bet and a call on the flop, like their range is much more condensed to draws and stronger hands that would bet anyhow. So actually let's take a look at that spot. So it's king 9 5, and then so the question was like, so half pot call, then the turn is an ace. It's pretty much just a range bet for like quarter pot to half pot, but mostly small. Now if we bet a quarter pot and then a call, yeah, it's still pretty high frequency. It's just sizing down. And then like there's even some checks mixed in just because like we're not
okay,
folding out
cool.
nearly as much ace high.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so this next question. Jack 7-3, half pot call, turns an 8, and hero is faced with it. Okay, so the small blind checks. Hero's on the button. Check to us. What do we think?
Seems like you want to bet with Jack 10 because it needs a lot of protection.
Okay,
And
let's
it has
start
the
with
draw.
what's that?
It also has a straight draw.
Yep. That's not the correct answer, but if so, Jack 10 is not within range because imposition would raise this on the flop without an overcard. So that's not within range. But yeah, if you got to the turn with Jack 10, you definitely bet. But
Is it a pure raise on the flop?
yeah, it's a pure raise.
Is it because it doesn't have backdoors?
Yeah, if you had a backdoor, the incentive to raise would go down. But I think even with the backdoors, you would still raise. So yeah, it's just when you have top pair without an overcard on like these Jack high 10 high boards, where there's a lot of overcards that could decrease the strength of your hand. You just have a lot of incentive to raise.
But you want to play for stacks with Jack 10?
Yeah. Well, I mean, small blind versus button for sure. Yeah. I mean, you have top pair. Like, three bet pots, like
Yeah,
it's
the ranges are wide enough.
yeah, and I mean it's a three bet pot. The SPR is much lower. So if you make top pair, yeah, you like specifically with Jack 10 when you don't have an overcard. Yeah, I mean it's a pretty good candidate to raise. What else?
So King Queen, I think that's a pure check with that suit, because having a king of clubs and a queen of diamonds, we can't really do too much more than check. So I think that's the check, and
Yep.
I think 6-5 is indifferent. I think that's the one that goes either way. I think it doesn't. I think it's just totally either way, like coin flip almost. The
So
6-5
yeah,
as far as check or bet.
so when you're considering betting this on the turn, like 6-5 would be a really good bet, uh, because like out of position,
He's
at
gonna have
least
ace
here.
six and stuff. Right? He's gonna fold ace six and ace
Well, yeah, but
5.
also like out of position won't have much of pocket sixes and pocket fives. Like at least
Right.
in this sim, they're gonna flat some of those. So, because Jack 7-3 is pretty much a range bet on the flop for out of position, and so like if they had those pre, they would have them here, and so if you had this hand, you would be blocking folds. But the thing is, like they don't have those hands too much anyhow. If they did, the betting frequency of this would go way down. But since they don't in this sim, this would be closer to a bet. That you're right. This is indifferent. But the thing is, like, if you get raised with his hands, like you're pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something you want to think about if you're in position on the turn here. Like if you bet and get raised, like what is your hand gonna do? And there's a lot of exploitative tactics you can kind of use there. Like if the opponent never check raises, then you can just like bet all your straight draws and not worry too much about it. Especially ones that unblock folds. So yeah.
So why isn't Ace Jack raised on the flop?
It doesn't really need protection. And you can
I think
like
it does. I think it raises sometimes. It's just not. It's not always a raise.
I mean the thing with Ace Jack in position is if you raise and you fold out better Ace X, like there's really no need because like if an ace hits on the turn of the river, you're just gonna cooler Ace King and Ace Queen. So you'd rather just not fold those out on the flop.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but maybe I'm wrong, but I think out of position 3-bet jams some just 2 overcard hands sometimes. I could be wrong about that.
It's possible.
And like you have those hands like basically drawing dead. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not too sure.
So here's half pot. So Ace
Okay,
Jack's
so Ace Jack off, I guess.
Ace Jack
The
of
heart.
Hearts specifically is raising a little bit, but like it's like King Jack's closer to a raise. Ace Jack off looks like is raising more, but yeah, I mean I wouldn't be raising much Ace Jack here. Just because like Ace Jack specifically, just because like it has the overcard and you can cooler Ace King and Ace Queen on later streets.
He fold Ace King and Ace Queen.
He's folding Ace King off, and then yeah, 3-bet jamming. Ace King suited, King Queen suited. Yeah. And if he jams, yeah, you're just calling off with all of your Jack X. So here's the Jack 10. So like after you so Jack 10's a pure raise, and then if you get jammed on, you're calling it off, along with all the 7-6. So this is a good takeaway. I mean, if so like when you have like 8-7 or 7-6 here, like you have 5 outs to 2 pair of trips, and you unblock all of their overcard bluffs. So yeah, and then so that's
Plus
why
the
like 8s and 9s aren't necessarily as good. They just don't have
plus
as many outs.
So the solver's looking at the pot size there, right? Where you just were. That sorry, I forgot where you had those outs. You there was only about like 30 something percent equity. Yeah, but so the pot's 141. So it's just calculating the equity versus the range of the opponent and coming up with a plus EV call, right?
Correct.
Basically. Yeah. Okay. That's it. I just want to get that.
Yeah, well, I mean that's why the EV is so high. Like if you look at the EV
Right.
of a call versus a fold, I mean that's a 1900 big blind per 100 call. So it's a pretty massive
Right.
mistake to fold there with
Right.
A7
And
or
it's looking
7-6.
at what the percentage the opponents of all parts of the opponent's
Yeah, I mean
range.
if you look at out of position's range, it's they're jamming a lot of Jack X, and then like overcards. So yeah.
They're folding a decent amount too.
Yeah, they're folding a lot of ace X and air. So, but they're not folding a board pair.
Right. Even that 5-6 hand, from the 6-5 hand from the quiz.
Mm-hmm.
If we get raised, when we were talking about getting raised there, if we bet that for small, if we get raised small, I think we continue, right? And then, but if we get raised big, we don't.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The 6-5 hand from the question 3,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was indifferent,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we were talking about if we bet there and get raised.
Yeah.
If we bet there and get raised, if we get raised small, we're going to continue with that hand, right?
Yeah. It's just the our EV goes down significantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Whereas like if we get jammed on, obviously we can't call. It's undefined there, but like if we get raised smaller, see it's like we're folding most of the 6-5.
Oh, so look what it's doing with the hearts.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's just like we're unblocking the
6. Yeah. The 5, 3.
the flop bluffs that give up on the turn and then
That's an interesting interest. That's a high variance play.
yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. Sorry to take up the time.
I mean I would just call there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a good one. I'll give you guys some time to look over this one.
I actually thought this was like the toughest question on the thing.
Yeah.
Because I think it kind of goes against the like rule where like when you block the pair, you want to do like what that pair would do, sort of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if other people want to say. I know the answer, but I think if other people want to say what they think.
So we can start with so which hand probably is not within range?
Is it the ace 6? I imagine like ace 10 doesn't want to be. It has like some more value seeing him ever. Like
Ace 10 has more value. I think that's why it doesn't want to check the turn. I think you're right about Ace 10 having more incremental equity because of the straight potential, right? It's it's got a gut shot and the nut. So I think it's gonna want to lead out. I think it's gonna want to bet the turn.
Okay, so it goes back to this idea that like with the 6-5, like it's a better bet if we can continue versus a raise. So if we bet like ace 6 versus ace 10, which one can continue versus a raise on the turn?
Ace 10.
Yeah, so we just we pure bet that one on the turn.
We fold a6 versus a raise on the turn?
Probably. Yeah. Well, it's I'm not sure if we fold, but it's like
No, I know what you're saying. I don't think we're gonna fold the nut flush draw.
we might actually. We might. I don't recall exactly, but I think I would fold versus a jam.
Yeah, versus jam, maybe you have to, although it's probably close.
I mean, the SPR is pretty low on the turn. I mean, out of position
Yeah.
certainly has like some small raises, but yeah, it's and also like you well okay, I'll get to that in a minute. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, we can
So
keep
like,
discussing.
so when you stab flop, you want hands that can call a raise and hands that don't have much equity, anyways.
Can you repeat that?
So when we stab the turn, you want to bet with hands that can call and raise, and hands that don't have that much equity, anyways.
Yeah,
So
well,
like we
the
don't get.
idea is that you don't want to bet a hand where like if you get raised, your hand is like the EV of your hand goes down significantly, whereas like if you just check back, like your hand has some sort of uh, like your hand just does better seeing another street as opposed to like putting a bet in and facing the possibility of a raise. So like um, so a6 is check on the turn. Just because if we get raised, like the expectation of our hand goes down significantly. And I think we fold it, but I'll have to check.
Would we bet like garbage on the turn, like just like 1 over 1 under?
Depends on the hand, like what type of garbage.
Like maybe like queen. No, not
You probably don't
Oh.
have to bet any hands that are just like total air, like ace-6 of hearts or something. Like those hands probably just never bet. I
Well,
think
we
you'll
don't
have
have
enough
this
like.
hand.
Well, the goal is
Why
like you
not?
construct your range on the flop in such a way that, like you
Well,
have more natural stabs on the turn.
I think we basically like close to range bet the flop, so we could pretty much have anything on the turn. And then I think on the turn, some of your like airball bluffs will just be like king queen maybe with a club or ace-10 with a club or something
okay. I just realized we're out of position here. I'm a dumbass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was okay. that makes this question make much more sense. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, no. I was just saying, I don't think you'll have to barrel pretty much any like total air unless you count like a gut shot with a club or two overs with a club or something as total air.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you have like ace-5 of hearts or ace-5 of diamonds or whatever, like I don't think you're gonna bluff anything like that.
Yeah.
Like this turn isn't that good for us to begin with, so like our barrel frequency shouldn't be that high, I would guess, to begin with. So then you probably don't need to like pick random bluffs.
Yeah. The thing with like something like ace-5 of hearts is that we unblock like the overcard king queen that would give up on the turn, and we block pocket fives, which would be a significant portion of their checkback range.
6-5.
Or I mean you block pocket fives that would call on the flop, and when they check back, like you don't beat it, so like it's really just not necessary.
Yeah, but pocket fives also folds to a bet, so you block.
That's what I'm saying. Like you block their folds as well, so it's just not a good bet. and you beat hands. So
A6 is the check.
I think
so
No, I think
this is the river spot. So we make a flush on the
think that-
river, and now we're considering our options with the
I
A7
think
and
that
A6.
the best hand to check, like the flush, the A7 is better to check it because you can check jam because he doesn't have pocket sevens as often. So you can
You want to
more-
block those. You want to block those pocket sevens with the A7. So A7's better for the bet, and A6 is better for the check.
I think it's like
ace-
super counterintuitive because Thomas, I know, has put a ton of emphasis on like when you have like a set, you play that the way that you would like play a pair, and then if you have like a flush that blocks a pair, you play that the way you would play the pair.
Right.
But in this spot, it's weird because it's a 3-bet pot and all of in position's hands are either suited or pairs, pretty much. Like they don't have much offsuit stuff, and they don't have anything offsuit with a 7 besides pocket sevens. The 7 of clubs only blocks bets because the only hands that the 7 of clubs blocks on the river, if you go back to the quiz, is 6-7 of clubs, A7 of clubs, King 7 of clubs, and pocket sevens, which are all going to value bet themselves.
Mhm.
So you block all those hands, which would bet, and then so that means you're more likely to face a check if you check with A7. So you should bet it yourself. And then A6, which like conversely, it's like normally you would think like, oh, you don't block a pair, so that one would be like a good one to bet. But the 6 actually blocks 7-6, and then like it also blocks a hand like A6, but it also blocks pocket sixes, which always checks back.
So pocket sixes is such a huge portion of imposition's checkbacks that it actually that makes a bigger difference than having the 7.
Right.
Because like A7 doesn't even block 8-7 of clubs because the board blocks 8-7 of clubs. So you don't even block that combination of hands. So it's doesn't even make that big of a difference. It does block 7-6 of clubs, but
yeah, the 7 of clubs will never check back for in position because he doesn't have any 7x offsuit, and pocket sevens is a boat. So
I guess
like if you have
I
the
guess
7 of
the clubs
clubs
came in on the river, so
right.
Yeah, so ace6 is the check, a7 is the bet, and then 10-8 is the better. Like we can just block with an 8 here. So here's the sim. So imposition checkback range is a lot of the 7x. Yeah. But here we can block the 10-8. And then we're checking raising the pocket sevens. But yeah, if we check, they're like a significant portion of their checkback range, of their range in general, are pocket sixes and pocket fives. So you can see those hands get there at a really high frequency. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait, can we check on the turn if you bet a6 if you fold versus a raise?
Let's see. Oh, you're
or
saying
any of the nut. Yeah, like any of the nut flush draws.
check, and then you're folding the a6.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that sucks.
But like you can just check and then check call the a6.
I think it's indifferent though, right? Like it bets sometimes. All of them, I think.
What do you mean for out of position?
Yeah. Like I can't really. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
like ace-10, is it a pure check?
Pure bet.
Oh, pure bet. Yeah. Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, and then it looks like no like total air ever really barrels.
Yeah.
I mean, it
so
kind of
like
depends what you
for out
count
of
as like
position,
total air.
for out of position, like king queen just block so many folds. Because like the imposition range is like all these overcards, like ace queen, king queen, that sort of thing. So yeah. Okay. So ace 10-2. So out of position pots the flop. Button calls and then turns a 7 of clubs, and hero has a decision.
Yeah, I don't think a set would ever pot the flop.
Why?
So, just because, like, I think the potting range here is, like, the value part is just going to be like good one pair hands that need protection and kind of want to just play two streets. So a hand, sorry, I don't know if I'm echoing, but a
No,
hand like, okay, yeah, a hand like ace king or ace queen with no backdoor flush draw would probably be like the main value hands here. But yeah, I think a set is just like way too strong to pot it. You'd rather bet small and try to play over three streets.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
So sort of, but the thing is like
Queen 10 is like even worse for potting. I think that in a Troy texture you can sometimes pot like middle set, unblocking the calls, but like Queen 10 is like worse to pot. I think like
Queen 10's worse to pot, you're saying?
yeah. I mean,
Well, so I think Queen 10 is a pretty good bluff just because the main hand, like the hands that are going to call down are obviously like the nuts, like sets, but then a really good call is going to be like ace queen. So having a queen is pretty good for bluffing.
yeah. So
and then you block pocket tens and ace 10 with queen 10, which is pretty good. I don't think it's like the main thing to pot the flop, but I think when you do, like sometimes you could pot the flop. Although you got to be careful in game because they're probably supposed to fold like some ace X, and I don't know if people are really doing that. So
I think I think part of the reason the tens go small is, in addition to what you said, is that like we have those, those overpairs like kings down to the jacks there that don't like that king up there. They want to. They don't want to check. Nothing wants to check, so they want to bet small. So things like aces and tens sets can protect those small bet size. Like even stuff like the whole rest of the range that isn't strong, and then things like you were saying, the ace king, the ace queen, they can bet bigger with some like gut shots and stuff. So I can see it would make sense to have two sizes there.
Right.
Well, I think. Right.
The tens and the aces are protecting that whole range bettish kind of small bet that like almost the whole range is doing. They're great at protecting that against raises. Right? And we're less likely to get raised when we bet big with the ace kings that require the protection.
I don't think we're betting small that often here, though. Like I think we want to bet half pot lot and pot it quite a bit. On this
I think whatever,
texture.
yeah.
We're doing
whatever
that,
the smaller size is,
doing that
I don't
little
know.
10% thing.
I think we could bet pretty small, but even if we didn't, like sets, I don't think a set is ever gonna pot the flop on a board like this. Pretty much, like even if you just gave it a pot or check, it would probably check instead of potting it.
Well, but like if we block the, if we go small, we want to get called by like 10x, and we block the calls from if we go small. Like we block all
you
the
want to go
king
small and get raised by ace X.
but like he's not gonna raise us very often here.
Yeah, but I think
if we
tens is so strong that like
wait. Why could we not get raised?
We can get raised huge because we're gonna bet really, really small, right? We're gonna like the range, the small size is very small, and the big size is quite big, right? So if we're betting small, we're going to get re-raised a lot. So having those sets in the small bet size with all those other little, like all those other combos in that very small bet size is excellent for when we get re-raised, like a lot of the time.
Okay,
And we,
so
right?
on this board, we're going to have several sizes, but mainly the small size is just like an ace high board. It's better for us, but we're also going to have a pot size that will consist of the top of our range, but also when we have pocket tens, we get raised by ace X a lot because we block the call range that doesn't raise us, and we unblock the raise range. So yeah, because like yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
So we go big with this 10, or we go small.
Yeah, we go small because we unblock the raising range, and we block the calling range.
Couldn't you make that argument though? Then when you have aces, that you'd want to bet big because you like by the same logic that you just used.
No, you block the well.
Yeah, because you block the raising range and you unblock the calling range. So wouldn't you want to bet big then?
Well, then you just block their continues in general. Like if you pot aces, you're not getting called
I'm
by
not saying
anything.
that. No, I know. I'm not saying that you would ever pot aces. I think the logic, like you could just use the same logic that you use for why you wouldn't pot tens and use the same logic for aces, and then it doesn't really hold. So I think
Actually, I think if you wanted to experiment, you'd probably be better off using a little bit larger sizing for the tens, but still a very small sizing for the aces, because
No.
the tens.
Like aces block the raising range for imposition.
right.
Right.
So you're not going to get raised. So you'd want to bet big by the logic with tens, right?
Yeah, but then you have like the other side working against you. Like if you bet big, you just like they never continue. So
Well, they could have a 10 or a flush draw or something, right?
I mean, like versus a pot size, like they're not continuing often at all. Like it's pretty much just ace X.
Right. I agree with you. I'm just saying I think the logic for why we don't bet big with tens is anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. I just
Well,
think that.
the thing is, the difference is like with tens we unblock the raises, whereas like with aces, um, we block the continues. It's more of like we have to look at like how much worse the other option is, I guess. Because like a pot size with aces is just like terrible.
Right. I agree. Yeah. Sorry, I was just kind of playing because I think the logic is kind of the logic for why you would bet small with tens. You could say the same thing about another set, and then it doesn't really hold. But that was my only point.
I just looked at like ace 10 7 sim, like two tone, same spot, and like tens. That's some potting. I guess there because there's more draws there, right?
Right.
But
yeah.
this is too dry.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also.
Yeah, and a lot of their continues, like a lot of their pairs will have more backdoor draws, like straight draws that can continue versus a pot size bet. Yeah. Okay, let me pull up the sim. Okay, so we have a 10% size, half pot and pot. Yeah, the 10% is like tens and aces, and The pot size is like ace king, ace queen. So yeah, when you have the back door with the ace x, you just prefer smaller, and then when you don't have a pair, you size up with the back door. Sort of the idea. Okay.
Does ace 10 ever bet big?
Looks like it's mixing into half pot, but it's never pot.
Okay.
So yeah, if we bet, we get raised like 24% of the time, and it's like a bunch of ace x. Some of this 10x is still raising without the overcard, but like the 10x with an overcard to the 10 is just calling. So yeah. Okay. So now onto the turn. Someone said it
I'm
earlier.
thinking,
I'll just go ahead and give this one away. Queen 10 is just a bet on the turn, because their calls are ace queen and two pair and some 10x. So yeah, I mean it's a really good bluff, and I'm not sure, like, versus the, let's see, the pot size bet. Yeah, all the lower pairs are folding, so unblocking those doesn't seem too relevant. But anyhow, it's just a bet. Okay, so now we have these two hands. What do you think?
thinking that king queen with the spade is worse since it blocks the flush draws.
Worse
And
to
also,
bet?
it's worse for betting.
Yeah.
And the blocking the back door isn't.
I think it's the opposite, Josh.
Oh,
I think
duh.
you just
Duh.
flipped them.
Yeah.
I guess like having blocking the back door isn't very relevant since those fold on the flop to a large size.
Yeah.
Right.
That is correct. Yeah. So like, imposition will continue pretty much with a spade. Like king queen, off with a spade will continue to a bet. So yeah, pretty much a pure continue. So yeah. Any questions about this one? All right. Yeah, so queen a4, this is just a check down line. And then we face a pot size bet on the river. And then hero is bluff catching the river. So what's not within range?
King, I imagine you want to bet that.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't really have much incentive to bet on earlier streets. Like if you had aces, you could even make the argument like you block checkbacks, so you could check some, but king's like it's a more vulnerable pair and that sort of thing. So yeah, now we're left with bluff catching with ace high.
Yeah, I can say so. I think I know the answer for this one, but I messed it up the first time, and think the reason why. So I thought having the king of clubs would be a good card because I thought flush draws or like a hand with the king of clubs would bet the turn a decent amount as a bluff, which then means it's more likely he just has a hand like whatever, king 10 of hearts or some other king high that just checked down to the river. But then that ended up like being the backwards logic. It looks like he bluffs more like total air on the turn, like a hand like king 10 of hearts or king 10 of diamonds or something always bets the turn, but then some of those king high flush draws actually check back the turn, I guess, because they don't want to get check raised.
Yep.
So actually having the king of clubs was a bad card. And then that means having anything but the club is pretty good. So
That's correct. And so like on this board, having the two overs to like king 10 on this board, if you hit a pair on the river, like your hand is the nuts. So yeah, I mean, getting raised with king 10 is not great. So yeah, so if they bet the turn, the idea is if they bet the turn, let's say on the turn they bet their all of their king high flush draws, then on the river in the check line you would want the king of clubs because you unblock their bluffs, like their air that didn't stab the turn.
Right. Which, for what it's worth, I think like in game that's probably better logic. But
yeah, I think on the turn they would just stab the king 10 of clubs, to be honest. And actually so like I wrote this quiz like a couple weeks ago, and then I retook it a couple days ago, and I got this one wrong for the same reason you did. It is kind of backwards, but like when you think about like the value of a check back versus betting, it kind of makes sense.
Right.
So yeah, we call with ace of hearts and fold with the king, or ace of clubs and fold with the king of clubs, and then a6 is just indifferent because same sort of logic. Imposition's going to bluff like 5x and 6x with a gut shot on the turn. So when we have the 6, we in the check down line, we block some of the overcard or like high card air, like king 10, king 9, jack 9, that sort of thing that waits till the river to stab.
It was kind of funny though, because I'm pretty sure when I looked at this one, I think ace 9 was bluffing for in position, and then we bluff catch some ace 6. So I don't know how often I've seen that, but yeah, it's kind of funny.
It's interesting. We'll take a look. Okay, queen 8-4. Was it rainbow?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So then, here's like the ace 9 of hearts. Check. Pot. Let's see what is. Position.
Like I think in position was bluffing ace 9. It doesn't have it super often, but I think.
Yeah, in position's bluffing ace 9. Yeah, it's like a sliver of a combo. It's pretty much non-existent.
Right. It's just funny though, because you lose to some bluffs, but
yeah, ace 9 should be a fold. I don't know.
No, it's ace 6. It's ace 6.
Ace 6. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like notice imposition's bluffing a bunch of 9x, so then like obviously ace 9's like pretty shit. Whereas like imposition doesn't have as much 6x that's bluffing. And it blocks some 7-6 that bets at equilibrium at least.
Right.
Okay. Similar thing, but we're out of position this time, and we're considering our options. So which one's not within range?
7-6 of hearts.
What's that?
7-6 of hearts. They got shot on the flop.
I think I'll just try to. I think all the hands can take this line on the flop at least sometimes. So I think it's the turn that's the like where one of them doesn't make it.
Okay.
If that helps.
So
7-6 of hearts could bet the flop too. I think sometimes it'll check.
Yeah.
You're right.
So-
You're right.
Yeah, so that's correct. So I haven't looked at this spot in a while, but that sounds right. I think I mean ace five of spades seems like a really good bet on the flop. On the turn,
I think it's a bet on the turn because it's an overcard. It picks up a gut shot.
yeah, it has a gut shot too. So I'm going to say that's the one that's not within range.
I agree with you there.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. And I think originally when you did it, I think you had ace five of clubs as the original one. And then that was the only one of the ace fives that sometimes checked the turn. And I think because those ones can actually check continue. But I think all the other ace fives have to check fold. But
Okay, yeah.
like are really good bets. So that one was tricky for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I I think I
No, it's all good. I know that it can just get confusing and stuff.
yeah. Okay. So does everyone kind of agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we get to the river sometimes with all of these hands, so what are y'all thinking?
Okay, so the 7-6, right? We got to bet the 7-6 because I
Why?
think the fives it doesn't matter, but fives is the better check. So I think that's the 7-6 and check is the ace-9.
Yeah,
I do think
so.
I think the ace nine is just because it's hearts, though. I think if you had any other ace nine, you should probably bluff at some point, or at least should be close to bluffing, because I don't think you're going to check down for any EV with ace nine.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
But I
So
think
when,
having
when we
hearts is
do
really
bet,
bad.
So the thing with 7-6 versus fives, like you could make the argument like 7-6, you so it's basically like with pocket fives, you double block hands like 5-4 and ace 5 that you would want to call, and then like 7-6 you can like you only single block pocket sixes and you don't block fives at all. So it's just that much stronger. Are there any questions about that?
it seems like a very thin value to bet like third pair on the river. So are we betting for a very small size?
Yeah, but it's
Probably
also
like
it's also a
block.
check down line.
Yeah, it's the line as a check down line, so we can bet much thinner.
I mean, you're trying to get called by ace high.
Can you check if the other ace nines bluff at some point?
Yeah, we'll go
Or
ahead and
does
take
ace
a.
nine try to check down? Maybe it tries to check down. I don't know.
Well, I think any other. I'm not sure the other ace nines would get to the river much here, to be honest.
Yeah, they would make good flop or turn bets too. But if they, yeah, I don't know. I'm just wondering if ace nine would try to check down, because
ace,
I think
well,
all the ace nines, I think, I'll bet the turn.
Except
Okay,
ace 9 of
let's
hearts, you mean?
queen a4, rainbow. Oh, this is okay. So check down. Ace 9 of hearts is a check. So what was your question again?
No, yeah, that just answered it. Yeah, so
Oh,
it looked
okay.
like all the other ace 9s bluffed, and then ace 9 of, and then I think that's like the cut. So does ace 10 just check?
Yeah.
Or is ace 10 bluffing?
Ace 10 of clubs. It
Oh,
looks
no.
like it's, but it doesn't
Bluffing.
get there at all with ace 10 of
Right.
clubs. So
Right, and then ace jack just always checks. Okay, cool.
yeah. And then so yeah, ace 9 of clubs is the only ace 9 that gets there at any decent frequency. You can see the combos there.
So how large are we betting with 7-6?
10% or quarter pot. Just blocking. And then fives we're just blocking. And then if we block, we get called by all the 4x and then deuces and like some ace high, like a7, ace8, ace jack, that sort of thing. And we don't have to face a bet, so it's also pretty good. But also, like, people just play terribly on the river. People just play passively on the river, especially in 3-bet and 4-bet pots, because people hate playing for stacks. So, I mean, they're not going to find all these raises against the 10%. So, yeah. Like, you have to raise ace-8 for value against the block, you know, and, like, king-8. So, I think most people will find the ace-8, but, like, they're not finding all these bluffs. Anyhow. Um, 10-6-2, 3/4 call, check check, and then villain open jams the river on a pretty much brick. So, what do you think?
So is the 10-9 the same thing as the Jack 10 in the other hand, where we always raise the flop?
Yep.
Yeah.
That would not be in range.
Yep.
And I think even if you didn't raise the flop, the ones with the, I think they always raise the flop, but I think you would always bet the turn for the same reason.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you somehow got to the turn with 10-9, you would bet.
Right. Maybe not 10-9, but like I think before you had pocket nines or something in there, and like that one always bet the turn because it doesn't have the overcard or whatever.
Yeah. So the thing with 10 high and lower boards in 3-bet pots is if you have a pair, you have a lot of incentive to pile money in because out of positions range is just overcards basically, like overcards and top set and like some shit pairs, like you know the ace 6, ace 2 type of stuff. So, like I know a deuce is trips, but like they have like a lot of ace X with a pair because they have all the ace X suited. And then yeah, they have a bunch of overcards. So like if you have like some middling pair here, you have low like 7s through 9s. Like you have a lot of incentive to bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So villain jams river. So what do we think?
I guess I can give what my initial thoughts were. I think so. I think his value range here, if you try to think about what he's going to jam for value, pretty much any 10 that check the turn or better, and then all the overpairs.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I think the one exception would be if he had aces, just because aces is going to do like that, the blocking ace high thing. So you're more likely to face a bet. So I think if aces took this line on the flop and then checked the turn, it would check the river again. Whereas I think like kings, queens, jacks would just bet themselves.
Yeah.
And then any 10 that took this line.
I think if aces took this line, it would just check the river.
Right. So at first I was thinking like having an ace is like a good blocker because you probably don't really block bluffs, which is kind of true. But you also don't really block any value because I would guess that ace 10 of spades like does something else. Like maybe bet smaller on the flop, or I could be wrong. Maybe it does take this line. But anyway, basically, I don't think you really block any value when you have an ace. And I think anyway, I think king queen blocks like kings and queens, which is pretty good. You also block some bluffs, but like yeah, I think it's better blockers than
King,
ace
king,
eight.
king queen with the spade is a decent call.
Right.
So if you so on the turn, so let's take the line from out of position. So if we're out of position on the turn, would we rather bluff king queen, like this combo of king queen off, or king of spades, queen of diamonds?
Probably this one.
Yeah, because we unblock folds.
Right.
So yeah, when yeah, so then when they take this line, they're gonna have oh god, my brain's going through a blender. What am I trying to say?
No, you're right. You're right what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
it's more likely that they just have I think their main bluffs when I looked at the thing were like queen 9 suited, even without like a backdoor or anything, was taking this line, and like just random and basically anything that loses to king queen could take this line for out of
Exactly.
position.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, we unblock a lot of air with king of spades, queen of clubs. Because when they have like queen x of clubs, for example, they would just barrel the turn because they unblock so many folds. And they block a lot of value.
So when out of position when they jam, they're going to include things that block our pocket pairs, right? Like our stuff that's going to call, kind of, right?
Mhm.
Like we're going to call with like pocket pairs, like well, sixes is but we're going to call with sevens, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that's
or
true. But I
eights.
think what
So
like it doesn't matter that much because like what Josh said, all those hands bet the turn at a really high frequency because out of position's range is made up of so many just 2 overcard hands. So just denying equity from those on the turn when you're in position is really good. So like out of position's just bluffing with hands more from the bottom of their range. Like it's pretty hard to have good blockers here when you're bluffing out of position because like it's not even clear what hands you'd want to block.
well, I think that the fact that they're jamming with stuff that's blocking our like pocket eights and pocket nines and stuff, depending on what hands they're using, right? Because I'm trying to figure out why,
That's
like ace eight will call or fold, right?
Right.
But ace nine will always fold,
Right,
right?
but
And that
that's
probably has
because
something to do with blocking those bluffs, like
it's
those bluffs like the 8-9, right? Or the
I
10-9.
think it's just because It's just because if you look at the pre-flop range, Josh, can you go to the sim?
Yeah.
They have more like king 9 suited, queen 9 suited, jack 9 suited, and then they don't have king 8
Right,
suited,
right.
queen 8 suited, jack 8
Right,
suited.
and they're gonna jam like 10-9, right? And
Well, 10, yeah, like 10-9. If it took this line, it would jam for
or
value.
8-9.
So like
8-9 is probably a better example,
right. I think basically any hand that loses to king queen could bluff jam for out of position. I don't think like it's
Let's
kind of unclear like what
let's
blockers are even good here.
let's go through these.
You're right though with what you said. Like obviously if we have a pair here, we're always gonna call. The problem is like we're gonna bet a pair on the turn so often. So like it doesn't really matter if they block a pair because we don't really even have it that much. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, aces is checking the river, and then like they're bluffing like king 9, queen 9, jack 9. Yeah, and then jamming 10x for value.
Why is aces checking the river?
Because we took the check line on the turn, so like imposition's checking back a lot of ace-x, and then going to wait till the river.
No, those would just check down. So it just unblocks bluffs. Like your bluffs are going to be like king high and worse. It looks like even king queen isn't bluffing.
Like in this line, imposition.
Oh, we unblock.
So imposition is checking back a lot of ace-x on the turn, and then when out of position checks on the river, they're still checking back all of this ace-x, and we double block that range. So.
Right.
Yeah, I understand.
Can you look at how often like 7s through 9s or whatever bets the turn for in position?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
yeah, so without the spade, like always pretty much. Or almost always.
Yep.
And even with a lot. Yeah, okay.
And how do we respond to the stab?
Jamming over pairs, calling with aces. Jamming ace 10. And
it looks like any 10 pretty much, yeah. Except 10-8, I guess.
Yeah, even 10-8. But like the other 10-8, you would just
bet yourself.
Well, yeah.
Right, yeah, the 10-8 isn't even in this line for
only the 10 of spades, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we fold ace 9 and call the ace 8.
I think ace 8. I think ace 8's gonna be
is that caller folds?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
And then king queen specifically is a really good bluff catcher. Just because we block kings and queens. Ace 8, like we block some of the bluffs with an 8. But we unblock quite a bit. So it's just a little more marginal, but
yeah. Oh, can you go to their out of position's bluffing range on the river?
Yeah.
It's just pretty much anything, right? Like there's no like
yeah, it's
like
king 9.
Like anything worse than king jack, it looks like, kind of. With the exception of like queen jack
9,
for whatever reason.
King 9, jack 9. Like 8, 7 that didn't bet the turn.
Yeah,
but notice with the ace 7, so like there's a jam range out of position. But like has been mentioned previously, a7 is such a good bluff. We can just size down and get so many folds because it blocks like such a huge portion of imposition's calling range. Like we just don't need to jam with a7. Sort of the idea. Because we unblock like all the ace high that would fold to a smaller bet, and we block the 8s and 7s. I mean the blockers are just so good. We can just size down. Yeah, you'll see that sometimes, like where random hands like bluff for a smaller size, and it looks kind of weird, but yeah, a lot of the times it'll just be because their blockers are so good, you just don't have to bet too big to get folds. Were there any questions on that last hand? All right. So 10-6-2 rainbow this time. 3/4 call. Check. Hero bets in position on the turn for quarter pot. Small blind calls, and then river's an 8. Small blind checks.
I think you're not betting ace queen on the turn because it has a lot of shown value. You don't want to get jammed. I think it checks back.
You think it checks back on the river?
On the turn, so it's not in range. Like we're in position, so
Oh,
we'll check.
no, not quite right. At least I don't think so. I think
I think what he said was right, but he said you don't want to get jammed on. But I actually don't think like the nut flush draw cares that much about getting jammed on.
so. Okay.
Like,
let me think about the spot. Yeah. Yeah, ace queen might check back the turn. Actually, yeah. Now I'm kind of undecided.
I don't totally remember this one, but my I think 8-7 would always check the turn.
Yeah.
The 8-7 would check the turn.
Yeah, because so I think when you have the nut flush draw, like betting and getting jammed on, I mean you're not happy, but like
Yeah,
you have enough
you're
equity
right.
to bet call it off.
Actually, you're right.
I think 8-7 if you bet the turn and get jammed on, they could just have like their bluffs are going to be ahead of you, so like it's a really shitty spot.
Yeah.
And you bluff queens. Yeah, you bluff queens.
Yeah, I think
have an overcard to it.
I think you're right actually, specifically on this spot.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think 8-7's not within range.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Now, okay. I have okay, now I'm just curious. We'll get to that in a minute. I was gonna look at like a different turn card.
And also, it didn't make any sense like to check ace queen back to bet ace jack. So like those two are pretty much the same hand. I mean, it has a little bit of short value, but like there's no
right. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I can't remember if you're. Yeah, I don't know if I should. Well, okay, so pocket sevens is just jamming for value in this line. Like their range is you're gonna lose sometimes, but their range is just like mostly ace king or ace queen high or whatever.
Yep.
The only thing I can't remember now is I don't remember if these hands are like value jamming or bluff jamming. So
well, you certainly like
my guess would be ace jack is a jam or check, and then ace queen checks down. But
yeah, that's the answer. I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think that's the answer from what I remember.
I know. I feel like I put this in and then got it wrong though, but this might be right. Okay, never mind. Okay, good. That makes more sense at least.
Yeah. Okay. So 10-6-2 rainbow. Now my question that I wanted to explore was 3/4 call. Notice how on the
Yeah, I
rainbow
think so.
flop the like we size up and we check less. So 10-6 to 10 of clubs, and then what? Check, bet, call, and then river 8. Oh, yeah, I was gonna see like
Yeah, you can look at the turn.
yeah. So the A7 of clubs is a check. Yeah. So like the EV of a check back for A7. Yes, like 30, and then if we get check raised, it's like half of that, and then if we get jammed, we're just folding. So that makes sense.
That's a
Now,
disaster.
yeah. So
Does 9-8 ever bet the turn, or it's
yeah, a little bit.
that's funny.
Yeah, like let's see, 9-8. Yeah, you block more bluffs. That would jam on you, I guess. Like better
So you
flush
bet
draws.
fold that one too, I'm assuming, versus a jam.
Yeah, versus a jam. Yeah. Oh, it looks like it's calling. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it
looks like
might
it's
be because they
close.
have like 7-6 or something. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter that much.
So my question was like, see, we were talking about 8-7. So if the turn was like 4 of clubs, okay, we're still checking because our equity did go up a lot with the 8-7, but it looks like the betting expectation is much closer on this one. It is betting like a micro amount, but yeah, because my thinking was if you call off a jam with A7 of clubs on the 10 of clubs turn, like they have a lot of boat outs, whereas like on a non-pairing turn, like your expectation is going to be a bit better if you get jammed on and call.
What's like their bluff jams on like this card? Like, do they have to jam? Do they jam flush draws? It looks like tiny bit of ace king. No, okay, so it's mostly just flush draws. No, whatever that is.
Combo draws.
And then the nut flush draw.
A7 of clubs.
Whenever it takes this line. Yeah.
Just because A7 of clubs blocks 7-6 of clubs, that would call off. And 7-6 has a pair against you, so like you don't even beat that hand.
And then they don't. It looks like they're not jamming queen 9 of clubs and then 9-8. They are sometimes just having the extra. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I think in the spots where you're gonna get jammed on by the bluffs that are like that beat you, you got to be careful about betting.
Yeah, that's definitely the case.
With like a hand that doesn't want to bet fold. If you can bet fold, then it's whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, last question. So it goes 10%, 10%, 10%, and we're in position.
Are there only 3 elements this time?
What's that?
Are there only 3 elements this time?
Yeah, there's only 3.
I'll imagine if he goes 10%, 10%, 10%, Poland will have a lot of kings and queens.
Yeah, this one I got wrong like every time. I didn't really know, but I would think his value range could just maybe even just be a jack, but I'm not too sure. It might even honestly be worse than that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of Jack X. Or like
can pocket tens or nines take this line, or that's too thin?
I think that's a bit thin. Pocket tens probably, just because imposition has nines at 100% frequency, like all those middling pairs. So I think that would be okay with tens. So, I guessed on this question, and got it right, but I'm not really familiar with the line, so let's go through it together. Ace Jack 3 rainbow. Yeah, kings, queens, aces, obviously, jacks, tens and nines. So 10% call, 5 of clubs. Yeah, tens and nines are checking mostly. Then yeah, kings and queens again. 10%. Let's see, it's a 5 of hearts. And then yeah, it's on the river. It's just a bunch of Jack X, like King Jack, Queen Jack, Jack 10, Jack 9, pocket tens a little bit, but yeah.
So the kings and queens are betting larger on the river.
Yeah, like you get value from so much, you can just size up, because you're supposed to get raised by ace X a lot on earlier streets. So once you get here, I mean, you can go bigger. Your kings are pretty strong in this line. Yeah, I mean, it's like 72% equity.
Yeah, so I guess by looking at that, then oh no, never mind. I was gonna say I would guess that when you raise, a hand that would fold would be tens, but he doesn't really even do this with tens. So then I was thinking like maybe king 10 wouldn't want to raise, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure.
It's just
what is he? Does he doesn't bluff with anything that beats king 10, or he does?
no.
Does he do this with
not.
king queen? Does king queen even beat king 10?
Yeah, king queen's just checking, it looks like.
Okay.
But it doesn't really go into the 10% size.
Right. I was just wondering if they were like if king 10 was even a bluff catcher here.
For imposition, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have a gut shot on the turn, so.
No, I meant on the river when they bet, because like if he's bluffing with, like if he's bluffing with a hand that beats king 10, then you wouldn't want to bluff catch it. But I guess he's not.
Yeah, king 10. King 10's a call. So like, versus this size specifically, I mean, you only have 9% equity, and you're still like crushing with this call. But a big part of it's like just on the turn, they're gonna size up with club combos. So.
Right. I imagine some clubs would maybe give up river, although I'm not sure in this 10% line. Maybe having a flush draw doesn't even matter.
It doesn't really. It's like
okay.
The equities are so unaffected.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Obviously, Jack X are calling. Even nines are like starting to mix folds, but yeah, 10s are calling. And then yeah, sixes are just shitty enough to raise, and then deuces, yeah, it's just a raise.
Good quiz there, Josh. Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Are there any spots you'll want to go back over or anything?
Yeah, that quiz was really good. You did a good job.
Appreciate it. Glad y'all liked it. I'll be doing more. So I recorded this and I'm going to put this up on my personal YouTube page, and then Thomas will link it in the Discord.
Excellent. Great for review. Thanks again, man. Have a great night.
Yeah, have a good one.
If it is night wherever you are, I don't know where you
Yeah,
are.
it is night. I'm in the U.S.
Oh, how you doing? I say that with like sympathy. Sorry, man. I
Yeah,
didn't mean to.
it's a fucking mess over here, man.
What state are you in?
Texas.
Oh,
Yeah.
is everything bigger there?
The coronavirus surely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking us,
Yeah.
but oh well.
Well, lots of time for study, eh?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Have a good night, man. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.